well into winter now. It's a good time as any, unless you're coming up for an MOT, to actually check your vehicle over to make sure it's safe and not going to break down when you least want it to. We're going to do a number of items, that basically will, like tires, wipers, oil, checking its level and what have you. And it keeps you safe, and obviously, again, like I said, don't want to break down right when you don't want to in hard winter. One of the main concerns for a winter is the wiper blades themselves. They start to get grainy when you see lines on the actual glass, so that gives you one good indication that they're actually beginning to fail in their job, and they will fail MOT on that. One way to look at the condition is to look down the blades. You can give them a bit of a clean with some washed up liquid, what have you. But generally speaking, the wiper blade should only last about 12 months. Some of the more expensive ones have got an indicator on there, like a yellow dot, which actually fades to black, and that indicates then that the thing is actually done its life. They get stuck to the windows through frost, they scrape off snow, let alone the actual traffic grits that come up and what have you, and also the actual sunlight and what have you in the air will actually make them hard, therefore they'll start to fail to actually clear the windscreen. So one of the good jobs, it is a bit of a pain to actually replace them just before winter, so it's a good idea actually after winter's done to actually replace them then. Then you've got all summer, and then when it comes up to winter then you can actually, or your MOT, then you replace them before it. This is the business end now, the engine compartment. Things to check in here for winter. Well, they actually should be checked weekly if you like, especially, or generally give a good king for itself if you're going on a holiday or a long trip over winter, all over the festive period. So what we've got here, one of the big musts, if you like, is the screen wash, as you can see here marked in blue. Don't put fairy liquid in it or any other dishwasher, because basically it'll actually go gloopy or whatever and block the pump up, so then you wonder why your windscreen wiper won't work at the back, or you get jets blocked up and what have you. If you like, as an indicator here is the actual expansion tank, if you like, for the cooling system of the car. Again, one of these things needs, if you like, you can see there's a maximum mark and a minimum mark, and you need to be basically where your maximum mark is when it's cold. And also this time of year you want to get your antifreeze checked, right? You can get meters you can buy in various car shops. I won't mention no names, but the big one with the H is quite good, and they will give you a cold tester, which is basically a series of little balls which rise up when you draw the water up, and they'll indicate what she's protected to. So you at least at this time of the year down in Cornwall need to be protected to at least -12 to be on the safe side. Right? You can't get an indication of the colour, but that doesn't mean it's got it straight. So it needs to be checked. But keep the level, always keep the level up to the maximum mark. If you're going to check it, you usually check it cold. And if you've got to do it hot, if you're in a panic, right, release this cap here, and you can see on the top it's got pressure on it, right? So technically you're going to release that, either wait for it to get cold or release it very slowly, right, to release the pressure. You hear it hiss, and then you can check the water or top it up. Oil levels are very important on a car. We like to keep them dead on the maximum mark, just in case we can indicate various things from that. If it's being topped up by the cooling system by accident, or there's a leak inside, right, and then think, oh look, my engine is making oil. It is not, it has actually got coolant going inside. Also, if you keep it to the maximum, the oil in the sump in the bottom of the engine has got a nice reserve then over its service period of actually keeping the engine clean inside. If you keep it always on the minimum mark, then that oil left in there is actually working twice as hard. To do that, level ground, as you can see, it pays also to take the key out of the ignition at this point, because somebody might jump in and run over you, that would be very good for a change anyhow. But like I said, always immobilize your vehicle if you're working around the front. Somebody might just drop in there and just kids, whatever. Try and do it level ground, as I just said. Coal is good, right? You can do it when it's started up, but basically it gives you a little bit of a false reading. You could be 2 or 3 millimeters on the dipstick lower than what you normally would be. So what we do here, like identify where your two, there's your dipstick. They're usually well marked. It's probably about the only thing you can actually do by a car on a modern car anyhow is to check the oil. And there's your filler, right? Again, if your car, this one is pristinely clean, right? So what we always do is wipe around the area. Remember, we're maintaining it, not ruin it by letting earth drop or whatever drop down into the actual hole, right? So what we'll do then is we'll pull the stick out. All right. Okay, yeah. Right, don't worry if the engine oil is black. Right, it'll turn black on the diesel engine virtually as soon as you start up with new oil in it. It just proves one thing, that the actual engine oil is just doing its job because it's holding the dirt in suspension rather than let it clog up all the galleries inside of the engine. Right, like I said, most cars nowadays, about 10,000 miles, you change the oil and the filter. Right, so I just wiped it off. I don't take this as the actual proper measurement because the capillary action of this dipstick going up the tube means that it will climb itself up about 6 millimeters even when it's cold. So what we'll do then is wipe it off and re-dip it. Now you can see here, look, you can see we're on the halfway mark, look, yeah. And like I said, if that engine was started up, time we let it go cold, it will be where my thumb tip would be, right? This one could do with a top up, right? Unless it was due for a change. If we're going to do a change next month, right, then obviously we would leave it go to that and then we will change it. Then bring it right up, identifying its maximum mark. And again on that, make sure you look at your manual to find out what kind of oil it's got in it. That was in this cap there, usually a turn and a half. Also have a look at the cap. If it's got white sludgy on there, you may have and you're losing water in your tank, right, that may indicate you've got an internal engine problem. This one's obviously very clear, yeah. And like I said, one of the things you don't want to do, always double check that you've actually got it on tight and you put it back on. You won't do any harm, but everything will be lagged in oil within a matter of miles. Tires are very important this time of year, right? You want to keep as much of your tread pattern down on the ground as possible. You get slippery, dewy surfaces. Basically, the car will leave go nowadays very, very quickly. Plus, you also, if you like, you want to make sure your tread wear problem is right, yeah. And you got any other problems with suspension and what have you. And look at this tire. Look here, you can see visually, right? You can see there's a crack there. Look in the tire there, but it's not through the stitching, right? And it's good wear. So we're talking a tire there, if you like, is well over half worn, yeah. So you find it on here. Look, you'll see right in where my fingernail is. Can you see that there? Yeah. There's what we call a depth gauge. Now these are the depth gauges that they look at in the garage when you do your MOT. You can see they're going right across the tread there, right? And when that top tread gets to that level, then consequently that tire needs to be replaced. If they want to ask it, what have you, the garage will actually do something with one of these. You can see this here, look, turn it on. Right, this is the tire depth gauge, yeah, a digital one. And technically speaking, I can put it on, I can zero it, so I put it on there like so. You can see this should be 0, here we go, there it's 0. Right, and then I can drop it on the tire like so, and I can push it down there, right? And you can see we've got nearly 6.5 millimeters there of tread left on the tire itself, right? Some police cars actually replace at 6. Yeah, so your tires are not even touched before they actually replace, right? And like you said, to make sure your tracking is good, that means that does your wheels point in the same direction when they go forward, yeah? And you haven't got no suspension wear on the other side. What you've got there, you can actually do a depth gauge on the other side as well and compare the two, right? And I've done that properly. Let's have a look. 0 again. And we'll go in there. And actually, to be fair, this one is now 5.71. So technically, if you take that away from each other, we're talking also a millimeter, just under a millimeter. And if you had to go by that, that means the tires, the wheels are going slightly outwards. So the inside is wearing faster than the outside. It may not be very much, and it may hardly at all. The rule of thumb is, if they're both doing this, right, and you put your hands across the floor like so, you feel the inside of your hand scuff. That means the insides are wearing faster. We call that towing out. Right? They could do the other way, the outside is wearing before the inside, that's towing in. You may have to go to the garage and get them tracked. If you've got one that's actually wearing faster one side, but the other tire on the off side is okay, it's probably a bush or a suspension bush is actually wearing one side and causing an isolated problem on one wheel.
Okay.
As a rule of thumb. This tire is good, and obviously then is wearing well, so we appreciate then that the tire pressures, if you like, are going to be something like it as well, but we will check it. Right, next little item that's very important this year, and like I said, also saves money if you do it regularly, is checking the tire pressures. Right, to do that you locate the valve, and this particular one has got a black cap on it, and it obviously then is going to be air is actually doing it. Some modern cars now got a green top and they got nitrogen, if you like, loaded into the tires. And a very modern car now basically will tell you on your dash that your tire is deflating, right, and consequently you would have to get it flated up or the problem cured, right, and then you would have to reset your dash for the tire circumference, yeah, because that's what it actually measures. Right, to do the tires, like I said, probably do it best cold, again on level ground. And we've got a gauge here, this is an American one, you see it does in pounds per square inch, yeah? Right, so technically if you don't go to a supermarket, forecourt or something like that where they've actually got this thing on there, then you can check the tire pressures. Now you can tire the pressures there, this one here if you like is just about 28 pounds per square inch, which is about 2 bar in new money, yeah? If you want to find your pressures what they should be, they're usually either on the door, in the door sill or whatever, or you will find it in the manual. And they will vary a little bit. Some cars nowadays are all the same, but if obviously then you're fully loaded with 3 passengers plus in the back, then they may give you a higher pressure for the rear wheels. That same goes for a motorcycle. Yeah, motorcycle usually has a slightly lower pressure than the back wheel. This is also, we can also back that up. If you're not so good with the old black pressure gauge, we can also use a digital gauge. Right, I think this one, to be fair, came out of a Christmas cracker. Yeah, so it works really well. Yeah, so we can stick that on there. Yeah, and we're in bars there. So like I said before, we're 2.0 bar. Yeah. There's also a legal requirement for MOT and to run on the road for your lights all to work. It also pays that modern cars, if you like, especially with road salt and dirt grime on there, they will actually tarnish their outer lenses. So it pays you to actually get some kind of cleaner and clean the actual lenses over. You will find you will get the benefit from your bulbs, especially in the winter time.